Hello guys, welcome to another cheating story. We've got some really exciting cheating story. Watch until the end, you'll be shocked as the last bit will blow your mind. I've been married for 11 years, no kids but my soon-to-be ex-wife with 39 female, whom I caught sleeping with a guy. Made my world turned upside down, so as a reaction, I kicked the guy out of my house. This will be long, so I am 44 male. We were living in an unhealthy lifestyle, so we're practically chubby. Not until I got my blood tested and it turns out to be in the verge of acquiring diabetes, gout, and hypertension. As a result, we started to have a healthy lifestyle, because who wouldn't be scared of acquiring those diseases, right? Never in my life had I felt great as I lost weight from 100 to 85 kilograms and my wife 83 to 65 kilograms. I never developed any of the mentioned disease, as we continue to pursue living the best in our lives. We attended to a gym every day, while in the afternoon, without realizing that the guy, my wife's partner I caught on our bedroom with, was the coach on the gym. Let's call him Baldly, and my wife, Jane. So when Jane started getting in shape, I observed that guy's turns to see her where I felt proud for her. She got busty, has fine legs, but of course Baldly was one of the guys who would turn around every time she walks in or out in the gym. Baldy liked to check women's, but since it was a true nature of male, I was slightly off when I saw him doing it several times than I expected. There was a time when Jane and I were using elliptical machine in front of Baldy and the others. Across was the cable machine where Baldy took off his shirt and started doing crossovers. It seems that he likes to show off how built-in he is. No wonder Jane turned to me says, "Are you seeing what I am seeing?" She also enjoyed the attention she attracts from men. As Baldy continued to show off, I saw the way Jane stares at her until she bit her lips, so I looked at Baldy and there, he was grinning. Driving home, I said to Jane about how Baldy is showing off. Jane said, "Really? I didn't notice." She said it with full of easiness. The feeling I felt earlier at the gym doubled this time. I mean, I am not as ripped he is, but I am working on getting in shape. Then, I told her she was staring every single time to Baldly. She replied, "I don't remember. I must have been thinking about something else." I let it pass and kept on driving. Jane and Baldy became close at the gym where they started talking frequently. When Jane was doing squats with Smith machine, Baldy came in to help her. Nice for a coach helping someone out with the machine, but grabbing her waist was too much, so I got mad. I go to them when she finished her first set with a fierce face, making me told something not in a good way. I said, "I got it from here." As Baldy took his step to move away, he smiled and said, "No problem, buddy." Jane was there, so she heard my tone of being angry. She also knew me very well. She replied, "Oh my God." I said, "We'll discuss this at home." Going home got us on beef. Jane called me immature, jealous. I told her that everyone would notice that he was trying to hit on her. You know what she told me? She told me that she knew it but would never try to cheat or do something that'll blow our marriage. I, being angry at the time, asked her that if she knew why she would let him touch her. She said she didn't want to be rude. After an hour of arguing, we decided to change the gym we used to do exercises. 3 months had passed when we changed the gym we used to go to. Jane has been resentful towards me. She keeps on arguing that I was a kid and that I don't trust her. Meanwhile, there was a good opportunity for my job, so Jane and I discussed where I took it, as well as decided that we're going to gym at different hours. She would go in the afternoon, then I would go in the morning. Jane's resentment increased as we barely speak. I sent her updates and messages, telling her how my day went, that I miss her memes, but she often replies or would send, "Yes, okay." Things went downhill fast. I was anxious, so I talked to her about going into couples therapy, not until she said that I was the one who needed therapy because of my trust issues. I admit that I was so anxious to save our marriage that I even blamed myself for it. I went to treatment in the year 2022 as a result. Jane's actions was still the same when the time we changed our gym. We stopped being close. She was seldom in a good mood. I snooped through her phone, but I didn't discover anything unusual. I searched her car for a spare phone. I found nothing. I even examined her map history. I double-checked her phone to look for something unusual. I just saw my home, my place of employment, and my residence. She always claimed that she was just going through a 40s phase whenever I tried to speak with her. It will pass. I never had any proof that I had cheated. So I kept on working and fretting. We are living in a condo. I was greeted by Mr. P, a very upbeat individual who had a lot. He told me yesterday that he had to move a heavy sofa and that he was in pain today, and he was touching his shoulder. I was sympathetic, and he said the truth. He said, "Maybe you can set up a meeting with your massage therapist." I told him, "Do you know the person who was looking for Jan here yesterday?" It took me one moment to handle this. I told him that video of him is yours. He probably rushed to show me because he noticed how pale I was. Who is Baldy? He has undoubtedly massaged my wife a few times. I started looking into it after taking the day off. I borrowed my coworker's car so that Jane wouldn't notice that I was following her. On the afternoon, Jane parked her car to the gym and there was Baldy waiting. As I witnessed their giggling, romantic hugs and kisses, my gut turned upside down. They walk few streets away into a residential place. I even tried to follow them along with my phone that I prepared to record them as evidence. However, the guard stopped me, then asked what he can do for me. I told him, "Aren't they a nice couple? Do you know them?" as an alibi. The guard thinks they are newlyweds, but that's all. I tried calling Jane as I get back to the parking where her car was parked. I noticed that her phone was left on her car. There I also found that Jane hasn't been attended gym in 8 months. Obviously my marriage was over. I didn't know that the previous night was the last day I would be sharing a bed with her. I got home, and then called my parents. Gladly my dad has an excellent divorce lawyer, and as I told him everything, tears runs down from my face. Just like a normal dad would do, he asked to get evidence as he comforted me. At last Jane called after she missed my calls. She said she's on the way from the gym because I said I'm already at home. I cannot let her see that I was crying. When she saw me she asked what happened. I smiled and told her it might be flu from the bug. I even said that I need to sleep on our spare room then get tested tomorrow. Jane pitied me and agreed. I haven't slept that night so I was crying silently, but then I can hear her giggling. I realized it might be because of Baldy. Maybe they are exchanging messages. Throughout the night I kept on thinking how to gather evidence. I looked into her phone to see but no history of contacting another man. Then it hit me. I told myself why I didn't realize it fast. Well, maybe the fact that cheaters are good at hiding things. I bet Baldy might be disguised as one of her female coworkers. The next day, while Jane's showering, I took her phone the second time to connect it to my laptop as long it's near to it or we're connected to the same Wi-Fi. I looked through and through to her female coworkers, but the profile picture of dumbbell ringed my ears. I read the conversion, but most of it was deleted. I saw some deliberately words, then I realized it might be some code or whatsoever because I know Jane doesn't have a desk at her work. Some of the code words they used were, "In case I snooped, can you deliver the papers on my desk? Where are you on top of them bosses in his office?" Baldy was clueless by the last phrase. I guess I am the boss because I know Jane's boss is a woman. Pretty clever at hiding things, right? Jane got out of the shower, saw me, then said, "You look worse. Why don't you stay with your parents?" I was silent because I don't want to be caught of her gathering evidence for her cheating. Jane went out. I contacted my dad where he gave me the number of his friend lawyer. I explained everything to him but told me that the code phrases is not enough and is nearly useless. That it's not factual evidence since it's not the affair's partner name, and that leaving pieces of conversation was a smart move which looked innocent under the law. I suggested that I can take picture of them at the mall, but Jane might said they're just friends, or that I cannot invade into the residential area I saw them going with because I might get trouble for it. I felt like Megamind into thinking how to get evidence. I even thought of installing a secret camera in our house, but Baldy never goes to my house unless I don't have any idea that he was actually going to my house. Moreover, I told Jane I was positive for the bug, then I'll stay at my parents for a while because taking care of me needs a lot of help. She agreed without hesitation but told me she would miss me, that she'll call me every day even if I hung her up. I got home while I called my dad and my brother. When I entered the house I was in awe because she already packed me a suitcase. I told her I'm bringing my laptop, then I checked for new message. She said, "Boss will be out of the office when I come to my desk." She was so eager to get rid of me as she sent that message when I told her I was positive for the bugs. I was preparing to leave the house when I saw her watching and looking at the door. Maybe she was expecting someone, and then I said I'll miss her. She walked me to my car, and I was gone. I was expecting her to shut the door in my face. After half an hour, my father and brother were waiting outside the building for Baldy to show up. Why she walked me to my car, I wondered. Of course it is common sense that Baldy was already inside the building, perhaps waiting in her car. Her coming at this hour for a massage would raise serious concerns. I quickly returned to my residence and quietly entered it. I overheard the moaning and the music coming from the bedroom next to the door. There is a couch. It has both of their outfits. I opened the bedroom door after setting my phone to record. Afterwards, with Baldy behind her, there I saw my wife in my own eyes, knocking of someone. Jane screamed and covered herself with a blanket when she saw me open the door. Baldy, feeling like an alpha male, walked right up to me, naked, and I got a good few seconds of their faces. I took the chance of him for doing something wrong. He yelled at me with aggression, "Buddy, why don't you go for a walk?" With my open hand, I struck his throat. I took the chance of him for doing something wrong. He yelled at me with aggression, "Buddy, why don't you go for a walk?" With my open hand, I struck his throat. I felt like in the Mel Gibson movie, Ransom, as I saw this moment. The following second, Baldy was hacking and heaving, stooping on the floor. I kicked him out and yelled, "Get out of my house." I tossed his garments at him when my father, brother and Mr. P were showing up in my home. I let him know I'll take it from here and shut the entryway. Jane was still on the bed, covering herself. She was shaken. I assured her that I will not change and that I have never hurt you. While I was standing at the moment, I said, "I'll wait for you in the living room." I sent the video to my attorney, and he replied, "I'm sorry for you, but this would be jackpot." Jane showed up after just a few minutes. She was unable to gaze at me. I began taking notes on the conversation. I questioned why she did not respond. Was I such a terrible husband to you? She began to cry but still nothing. Do you cherish him? She gave a headshake but said nothing. I get up, slam my fist into the table, and swear. She got her eyes open. Why? Because I started shaking once more like a puppy. Why are you scared now, huh? Never before had I yelled at her until that moment. I sat down and spoke quietly. For the divorce, my lawyer will get in touch with you. Find a lawyer. In the end, she spoke. Since Baldy was in the picture and you chose him over me, our marriage ended. We can fix this, it was a mistake, she said begging. I said, it wasn't. You made the decision, and the result is as follows. When I found out, what did you think would happen? And there she goes again, silent. If you don't tell your sister the truth, I'll show her the video. She went to the room and began packing. Since 2 days ago, I have watched and followed her. I was attempting to persuade myself that my wife is no longer my wife since she left. I didn't envy my wife, but I did enjoy watching her neatly pack her belongings into the suitcase with her guilty gestures. She shattered me. I love her. I started ugly crying as soon as I entered the spare room. When she shut the main door, I heard her pick up her clothes from the sofa, move them to the bed, and I fell to the ground. I called my dad a long time later, and he told me that Baldy wanted to file charges, but Mr. P told him that he didn't sign in, so he could sue by the condo. He left and dropped it. My dad took my nosy brother from the other ear to his car after silently gossiped. The previous days had left me exhausted. I had trouble sleeping. I was so close to falling asleep in the spare room the next morning. But Jane left numerous messages on my phone expressing regret and requesting a second chance. I blocked her just now. I received a call from my sister-in-law. Jane hasn't apparently told her what happened. Simply that we're just fighting. I suppose that's good. My father-in-law is not here to witness Jane's actions. She was his favorite child by my mother-in-law and also the youngest, but then she has senile dementia. All of this took place a week ago, and Jane will be served next week. I think you're absolutely right when you claim that she is no longer your wife. She is not your first wife, as I tell myself. At least that's how I think when people make big life changes, like losing weight. It kind of makes them new, and some people find that new opportunities open up for them, which can lead them to realize what they've been missing out on. She thinks that missing out on life is the same as missing out on other men, even though she was in a perfectly good marriage with someone who loved her no matter what she looked like. Come back for part 2. She should have seen this as an opportunity to do things together that you wouldn't normally get to do or that the weight would have prevented you from doing, rather than looking to feed this newborn ego with bad men. Even in the bedroom, you can be more daring with your newfound self-confidence. Cheating is not one of the many ways to discover life and appreciate the new you. I'm back with a juicy update. Hello everyone. I hope you find this as enjoyable as I do. She did an update. Before beginning the update, I'd like to go over a few points. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who contacted me and offered me advice, congratulated me, or simply expressed their concern. I've read in other posts that the support you receive is mind-blowing, but this is the first time I've received such genuine concern from strangers. Super thanks to you. Second, as you can figure, my second language is English. Therefore, I apologize for some erroneous sentences and prepositional confusion. Additionally, I erroneously stated that Jane was performing sit-ups. In fact, she was performing squats. Third, to those who believe my story is rather fake, you are free to believe what you want. I simply trust that my life story could help somebody in the future as much as with other people having assisted me from moving on about how I deal with shitty affair partner. It was not a ninja punch but sure as just choking to his throat, and to be honest, it was fortunate that I acted before Baldy did. Because I won't lie, seeing him on the ground, coughing vigorously and gasping for air made me ease. Fifth, some of the reader found my post I made and endlessly asked Reddit about this before D-Day. I didn't know the community's rules, so I never got it posted. Additionally, it is no longer significant today. To summarize briefly, Jane and I attempted to become parents for 10 years. On the 8th year, we saved enough money to purchase 3 chances at the most expensive but successful reproductive clinic. Jane began her affair during the 3rd one, and all 3 failed. That is the clinic where I had my blood tested and my medical history taken into account. As a result, I increased my risk of developing diabetes, gout, hypertension, and stroke. They deserve my gratitude. However, Jane was deliberately mentioned. They said that in the 3rd shot, it was aborted because it might have been a good partner's baby. That is not possible for her because it is nearly impossible for her to conceive naturally. The embryos were wounded in vitro, and is directly implanted through her. I attempted to ask a few more questions, but she arrived and informed her that I no longer want children, so I dropped it. Baldy, on the other hand, has nothing to do with her decision. This is somehow significant for later updates. Let's move on to the update now. It's been 12 days ago since D-Day. I've had a pleasant conversation with Mr. P, who admitted that he faked his shoulder pain. He told me that a very nosy neighbor saw when I kicked Baldy naked out of my apartment. He just wanted to warn me about Baldy. In a week, the entire neighbors in the condo will probably be aware of my situation. My sibling came to assist me with changing the lock on the entryway. I cried a lot when he left because I felt so alone. I contacted my employer to request a nighttime day off. When I contacted my lawyer, he informed me that he is drafting the divorce papers. He had to have the evidence first before he could begin. Therefore, we will consent to my divorce. That goes more easily than UNQ's divorce, which takes longer and really frightful. Mr. P advised me not to share the video because Jane will be served within 2 weeks. Sister-in-law called me, asking about what happened, but I told her to simple ask Jane for what valid reason we're separating from D-Day. In addition to Saturday, Jane's sister came and I showed her the video. Jane's car showed up as I drove to her home. When I got into the condo, I was crushed and cried more. On D-Day +3 Sunday, I went to visit my parents. My mother cried with me because she was so amazed of Jane. My father interrupted and talks with me about my cash, properties and stuff. When I got back home, Jane and Baldy showed up, Mr. P informed me. I asked Mr. P to give his card and so Jane kept it. I suppose they were going to talk about their relationship, but strangely, they came at different times. Jane came in the morning, parked her car, saw that mine wasn't there, and tried to enter my house but her key no longer works. She then asked Mr. P if he knew where I went, then she left with nothing. Baldy, I arrived in the afternoon asking about Jane, so Mr. P informed him that Mrs. Jane, the emphasis is on Mrs., no longer resides here. At that point, Baldy requested to see me and Mr. P let him know that I was away. He left with no idea when he would return again. It seems that neither of them hasn't been exchanging communication for some time now. I wanted to ask about Jane. Is she down? Was she healthy looking? Have she asked about my health? However, at that point, I remembered D-Day and recently expressed gratitude toward and said a great night to Mr. P when I returned home. I cried a great deal once more. D-Day +4 Monday. I didn't want to, but I learned from you guys that I should work hard in the gym. So I looked for a new gym close to my job and worked out well there. I was pretty happy. Then I went back to working from home. This time, I started taking out all of Jane's pictures without crying. D-Day +5, Tuesday, I met with my lawyer to review my assets. Fortunately, my dad got Jane to sign a prenup so she can't touch anything I had before we got married. She can't touch my house or anything else, and we'll split everything else 50-50 so I can get money for her adultery. I will impose alimony. I can fight for everything, but everything makes me think of her and makes me want to start over. When I left my house, I heard whispers. When I turned around, I saw two neighbors who immediately tried to hide their faces. I was greeted by them as they approached me. After that, I knew this would happen. I worked and went to the gym. Since this happens every week, I'm going to skip D-Day +6 on Wednesday, nothing noteworthy. Facebook and other social media are all I use. I ignore every DM's request to get in touch with Jane. I closed it and opened Reddit, where I enjoyed reading about the people who overcame similar challenges. I've improved, and therefore considered relating my own experience. D-Day plus Thursday, July 7th, before going to the gym at work, I started writing and posted it. Many people were responding to my story astonished me. I responded to a few comments. D-Day plus Friday at 8, all morning, I read and responded to my comments. I was grinning. Feels better to be valued to remarks trapped in my brain that I didn't contemplate one report undertaking accomplice to my old gym and to my house which holds a heartbreaking memory. I tended a new beginning, where I sought out real estate agents to either rent or sell my home prior to going to the gym. I'm no longer at ease here. Since D-Day, I have not entered my bedroom. I have been staying in the spare room to sleep. I don't want to live like this. D-Day +9 Saturday, I chose to go through the day outside. She did visit my parents and brother after arriving. They recently sent me a Jane game text. I responded, thanks. I do not wish to discuss her at this time. I spent Sunday with my parents. D-Day +10, we had a great time when we went to a town 2 hours from the city. I'm not sure if Jane showed up. I was advised by my father to rent rather than sell my home. I accepted and returned home. Upon my return home, Mr. P informed me that Baldy returned alone in the afternoon. Mr. P told him that I was away when he asked for me. He never spoke again. D-Day +11 on Monday morning, I went to my previous gym. I was unsure whether I would meet Baldy. He worked in the afternoon, but he was behaving badly toward my wife during that time, so I assumed he had switched shifts. He had not moved. While I waited for Frank, the gym owner, because I requested to speak with him, I was told to say hello to Miss Jane when I ran into an old janitor with whom I used to chat. I guess telling everyone that we broke up is my new normal. I gave him a sincere smile, and then nodded. In return, I asked about Baldy. The janitor said that Monday is his day off. He requested additional hours, and he now works Tuesday through Sunday morning. After that, I went over the purpose of my visit. Until I finished and finally showed him the video, he listened intently. He said you won't like this and remained silent while pondering. I was just wondering what Frank was thinking when he called the receptionist to tell her to bring Harry, which is another coach and Baldy's friend. Frank asked him to tell me about Baldy's girlfriend. Please fasten your seatbelts. This will be great. Frank confirmed Harry's claim that Baldy is in love with Jane. He informed me that Baldy had received numerous complaints, particularly from female members. However, over the past few months, he has received no complaints and is extremely professional with all members. Additionally, Harry informed me of shocking news. Baldy is trying to marry Jane by baby-trapping her. As I was thinking over this information, I felt something torn in my chest, move up my throat, and then explode in my mouth. I chuckled. I swear I laughed hard. Then Harry seemed perplexed, clueless at the moment, so Frank explained that I was the husband of Baldy's girlfriend. Harry made an expression of shock. Oh my God, this is bad, this is really wrong. Harry left straight away. We talked about firing Baldy, and Frank, not his real name, said that he must report the situation to the Coach Association. Because Jane was a gym member of Frank's gym who could face legal consequences regarding his licenses. Coach, I need to create a legal document to explain why I divorced my wife because of Baldy. The video will be given by my attorney for the Coaches Association. I cannot share it because Baldy will lose his license from that association, but he can apply for a new license at another association. I asked Frank if Baldy could appeal, and he said yes, but it would be a waste of time and energy. However, it would take months. He doesn't have the money to pay someone to represent him, and the association won't tolerate such behavior, Frank said. That reminded me the residential area where he and Jane entered. Frank brought his face closer to me because I thought Baldy was wealthy. Which residential neighborhood that I depicted in the Maps app? Frank asked. You followed them to this place, to which I did on D-Day +1. I got angry because it was Frank's father's house and my late father's houses are both in that location. He gave Baldy the key to that house, but he does not have permission to stay there. There, he stores all of the outdated or broken equipment. He probably has a copy of the key, so it's possible that he's living there illegally. Frank said that he will research more on this. Because there are so many cameras there, so it will be simple. I was leaving the gym when I hear Harry, he feels sorry for me, and that Baldy never revealed or shared anything about his girlfriend. He recently stated that he met her at XXX. After saying my thanks to him, I moved toward the exit. He hurried. Could you tell me what happened? Harry asked. I basically relayed to him what you heard. He was screwing my wife and now we're getting divorce. What will happen to Baldy? He added, and then I said that it depends on Frank's and the coaches association. I attempted to move forward as I exit the gym. But how do you deal with it now? As he still asked. Okay. This is odd now, I told myself. I remembered that Baldy had visited my house twice as I stared at Harry. I realized that Frank called Baldy and that he's buying him some time. Is it not true or you are just wasting my time? I said madly. He then showed his guilty expression, and said that he talked to Baldy, that he really wants to die and that yesterday, he cried because Jane hasn't been answering Baldy's call. If he's rotting in hell, why should I care? I responded, and he said that he'll be here with me so that I don't have to be afraid. I chuckled out of fear for that weakling. I said, he did not inform you? I kicked him from my home naked. Harry didn't believe me, so I waited and see what Baldy wants. I saw there are cameras where we were talking and sat at a table in the reception. Baldy don't seem stupid enough to attack me, but who knows? I'm also very curious about what he wants. He saw me waiting for him when he ran 10 minutes later. He reached out a hand. I left his hand hanging as I crossed my arms. What the heck are you after? I gave his eyes a furious look. He sat across from me. Stop there, buddy, listen. Mr. S, we are not friends. The janitor is my friend, you are not. He seemed sorry. Okay, my fault her. I'd like to apologize for everything. I truly care about Jane and never intended to harm you. Well, you just told me 3 lies. You have no regrets. You intended to ruin my life and you simply care about yourself. He went from being sorry to being annoyed. Okay, man, whatever. Just simply let me know where Jane is, he asked. So I responded that the last time I saw her was the point at which I kicked her cheating yet out of my home after I threw you out naked. Harry was listening, and Baldy's face turned into red. It was a poor shot. As far as I know, you illegally entered my home and may have been raping my wife, so I should sue you. You didn't sign in, but I have videos of you leaving. He changed once more, saying, I'm sorry, okay. I asked him what he wants from me. He said, please inform Jane that I need to speak with her right now. Frank arrived quickly. I surmise he saw through the cameras that Baldy showed up. You okay all here? Frank asked. And then Baldy responded, everything is fine, Frank. I was just saying what I want to this sissy. I stand up and speak face to face him about what I want is what you deserve, what the law has prepared for you, and what is coming for you. Just like you did with mine, I want to crush your dream. You want kids, you won't have any, and you won't have any children at all. Baldy shockingly said, what's that supposed to mean? However, Frank interrupted and that he should meet him in his office. Harry appeared pleased. He snatched Baldy's arm and pulled him, saying, you're in deep trouble, dude. Then I finally left. On Tuesday, D-Day +12, I now feel prepared to confront Jane. Even as I write this, I'm still smiling. Come back for part 3. So, how are you doing? The community's radar 1031 tells you to stay strong and be ready for the biggest group of bees to come at you over the next few weeks. She is deeply sorry. She adores only you. She has no idea what was going through her mind. All of the usual junk. She found it amusing to use secret code words that made you appear to be a loser because this is so much worse than the typical affair. She was eager to welcome Baldy into your home. She is filth, and scorched earth is the only response. Both were buried by my friend. I can't think of anyone more deserving. The op responds, naturally, my friend. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who has testified against all of this nonsense. I am aware of the outcome. As I mentally prepare for the war, my mind tells me to keep working out, eat right, throw away the bed, and sell the condo. I'd look for a new one because my previous was contaminated. It sounds like you have a support group, so get back into some hobbies to keep you busy in addition to your work and support group. Opie, you should go on a vacation with a few friends for a week or 2 and go somewhere where the women are plentiful. Enjoy your time away. Post only after the divorce has been finalized. Edit. You were trying to get your kids to spend half of the money you saved on this vacation. Ensure that the funds are designated. Don't forget to create a new account as well. The op responds. I wholeheartedly agreed with you. Before I got married, I paid for this place for 10 years. When we're about to divorce, I've kept them in the spare room now that I can't get into the room where I found them, but as you say, it's tainted. I'll sell when the separation is finished. The good thing is that Jane signed a prenup, thanks to my dad, by the way. Wow. I have a few thoughts. Baldy seems like a real work of art. I love that wise man. She honestly gave it up for the first idiot who gave her attention that had no value. He's just one of those guys who make women laugh at his jokes and smile at him because he's creepy and they think it's a way to get rid of him. They think it's a way to feed his ego. With this cheap sleazeball, I have no idea why anyone would want to cheat on their partner. Obviously, Jane lacks self-confidence, but that's a new low. Then, please have Baldy declare that he has fallen in love. He needs to control himself. He must be just as conscious of himself. Perhaps they deserve each other, two numbskulls in one case. Harry's thinks that you should speak with Baldy because his desperation is completely out of line. It shouldn't be anyone else's business but your relationship with your ex, and then for Baldy to beg you to contact Jane. It's also base backwards. Moreover, I think you're right to rent your place out. Because it is tainted and no longer belongs to you, I wouldn't stay there as you suggested. It doesn't fit your new life anymore. Let us know your thoughts in the comment below. I was surprised to update so quickly. In any case, something significant has happened. I'd like to share a message from my therapist. Do you remember that Jane suggested that I was having trust issues when I started therapy? As it turned out, I don't have any. I'm one step closer to becoming very gullible. But because I'm overweight, the therapist noticed that I have a lot of self-doubt. At school, I've always been a chubby, nerdy guy who has never had a boyfriend and has always been best friends. When I was 18, I had my first girlfriend, who left me for a more attractive man a week later. I went to a high school for engineering. As a result, there were few women. In my 20s, I had my next relationship with a toxic girl who blamed me for everything, even with the rain. She really sucked me up, making me feel bad about everything that comes to her mind. I didn't have another relationship until I met Jane at university, so I started working later because my family had money problems. We talked about how I feel about not having children during my previous therapy session. My therapist has assisted me in prioritizing me and everything I care about, including my physical health, fitness, eating well, intelligence, and learning about mental challenges, soul beliefs, and moral ethics. Jane is the second person who lives with me. Third is friends and family. Fourth is work. Then fifth, recreation and entertainment. Jane was the last topic my therapist and I talked. Afterwards she asked what I should do or plan where. I told her that I would divorce Jane, where she told was normal. My second priority is falling apart, which is the reason I'm so upset. I will have to go through the same stages of mourning the death, which include denial, bargaining with my rage, depression, and acceptance. Because I forgot them, I had to look them up online. I'm at the stage of bargaining because I'm thinking a lot about what ifs, like what if she really is sorry? What if we were the perfect couple who can get through an affair? However, the fact of the matter is that I will never trust her again. Knowing that she is alone at home will kill me. I find it torture to do whatever when I'm at work. In my case, depression is a dangerous stage because it can cause me to gain weight once more. I should keep going to the gym and watch what I eat. Hope this helps for all of you who is grieving also. Now an update. I've been extremely occupied for quite some time now. At the workplace, I applied for a promotion. It requires a lot of traveling, so I could have taken it a long time ago. Being away, I believe, will help me heal. In addition, I've been looking for a new home, and I found a tiny apartment, just right for me. I have already paid the rent in advance for 3 months. I will move as soon as I can. I haven't seen Jane since D-Day, and I haven't seen Baldy since that Monday, when I'm sure he was fired. I was greeted in the condo elevator by a woman in her 50s who was one of my neighbors. She informed me that she hasn't seen Jane in a while. I informed her that we are falling apart. And afterwards she ends up recollecting that she's having a supper and her single niece is coming for a couple of days and I'm welcomed. It looked like I was back in dating phase, which caught me off guard. My attorney then told me that Jane would be served on Friday, but my country was celebrating. I suppose. She will be served on Sunday morning at my in-laws' house on Monday. The next day a letter was under my entryway, 3 sheets of paper from Jane in the back, but mostly explaining why she cheated. Now, I'll introduce the second villain in my story, a colleague which we will call as Flirty. I met her occasionally at Christmas or anniversary celebrations at Jane's workplace. She typically wears a lot of makeup and is extremely thin, like almost thin. Anyway, she thinks each man needs to lay down with her one time. She informed Jane that I was looking at her, which I once did so because I could see her ribs and thought she was too thin for good health. Jane's letter says that when she lost weight, Flirty approached her because she wanted them to be best friends because they were the hotties at work. At that point, the Flirty's brainwashing began, making her believe she deserved a better man, which Jane believed as well. She informed her that I was an easy man who would attempt to win her now that she was hot. Flirty told Jane about the incident when she was squatting and Baldy came in to help her. "I didn't tell you that he prefers to own you than to be your husband, did I?" said Flirty. Jane bought it and did overly sexual manipulation. When we went to the gym at different times, that's when she harbored resentment toward me for months. Jane met Baldy by accident at the mall, and he approached her. She admitted she had a crush like Baldy before I met her. I've never heard that from her before. They went for a bite to eat, and while they were there, they flirted with each other. She showed her a picture from Facebook and told her that if she doesn't sleep with him, she would be a stupid witch. In addition, she had the opportunity, so she did, and Baldy brought her to his house as Jane wished. She is unaware that Frank's dad lives there because it happens to be close to the mall where they met. All of this took place 9 months ago, and Flirty is an experienced cheater. She instructed Jane on how to conceal her contacts, map, and tracking history by using the work words code. She even told her that changing her phone password is a stupid idea because I'll immediately think Jane noticed that Baldy hated when she talked about me and made hickeys on her body as punishment. Now I recall that she began sleeping in pajamas due to the cold. He used to make fun of me, but she never joined in. In the meantime, Flirty used to tell her that she's qualified for this and that I deserve to be cheated with because I have a beta personality. Throughout those months, she claims that she enjoyed the thrill, the sense of danger, and the sex with Baldy. But it also hurts her to see me struggle to be a better husband. Knowing she was the cause of my pain made it easier for her to ignore me and continue enjoying Baldy's pleasure. Then D-Day arrives. She thought I was clueless and that I was completely blindsided by her. I'm going to write this section exactly as she did. When I heard you closing the door and coming back, I saw you pushing and kicking Baldy out of the room in the house and covered myself with a blanket out of pure instinct. I didn't know what to say. You said that I have never hurt you and that I will never hurt you, which is true. I have never seen you so enraged before. Over the year of knowing you, never on that you failed me. Not even after we discovered that it was my fault that we were unable to have children. In the spare room, she heard me crying. She was trying to console me. But how could she? In the main door, before going out, we have a mirror to check ourselves before going out. When she got into her car, she couldn't bear to look at herself. She cried and let herself know what I have done. Baldy called her that evening, yet she blocked him. She made her way to the house of my sister-in-law around midnight, about 2 hours later. My home is about 40 minutes away from hers. Because she is older and has a very strong character, she was afraid to tell sister-in-law about what had happened. The following day, she informed Flirty of the situation, and Flirty advised her that she ought to be content with the fact that she got rid of me. I'll also copy this section. Then what, sweetheart? You're free. You can engage in sexual relations with Baldy or any person you need, and then I don't follow you, Jane said. What will happen when I get tired of having sex with many men? She added, after that, you will be able to select a serious partner. Then there's the unknown. Maybe get married. However, I had previously marriage OP, who is a loser. I bet Baldy is 100 times superior to him. That is not the case. He made my life comfortable. Jane, darling, don't settle for so little, you can have a better man. Flirty. Then they engaged fight in front of their coworkers. She doesn't remember it well, but she does recall that the Flirty told her that any guy hotter than me was better than me and yelled at her. What she has to say about me is beyond me. However, Jane was aware of what she destroyed. She was so distraught that her manager let her go home early. The following day, I showed my sister-in-law the video of Jane taking care of her twin sisters. When I drove home, Jane was asked by her sister-in-law to accompany her on a couple of errands. It was just a reason. Sister-in-law demanded to know what was going on in her head to cheat on me while they were parked at a park. Jane wept and said, "I don't know." Sister-in-law admitted that she envied our 11-year marriage for its lack of conflict. We were both smiling. She couldn't believe her younger sister could do that. Jane was there for her sister by marriage. Jane asked her ex-husband not to kick her out when he left her for another woman. However, her sister-in-law advised her that she could stay because the house belonged to both of them. However, she informed her that she is extremely disappointed and will support me whenever I require assistance. Jane was aware. Next Sunday, Jane came to apologize, yet I was not home when she accepted my lawyer's card. She called. My lawyer said that he was my lawyer, and then she realized I was truly going to divorce her, so she went to her new home and composed an admission and sent it to everyone. We both know that the following week, I began receiving phone calls and messages, but I didn't want to read her response. Now that I've read some DMs, this is what she said. The majority of them want to soothe me. One of her cousins said that it takes courage to confess. I think I should give her another shot. The week after that, she attempted to distract herself with work, but it now appears that everyone is aware of her cheating. People will think of you as a simple woman if you cheat in my country. Come back for the last part. As a result, male coworkers are extremely friendly to her while female coworkers are not, particularly ignoring her. She requested to move, but it will take months, so she quitted. On Friday of the following week, she has some money saved up. We had our funds isolated, and since I was a major worker, I paid for nearly everything. She was looking for me the next day. In her words, she begs for her return. She came to our house, however. She went to my parents when she realized I wasn't home. My mother was sympathetic, however, and expressed her apologies to her for everything that had transpired, despite the fact that her son was extremely hurt. She also pleaded with them not to talk about her any further, which Jane understood before going to my brother's house. He told her I was not there, and honestly I would rather not entertain you, as my brother closed the door right in front of her. She was very depressed when she got back to her new house last week. She had been thinking about what she had done, and she was really depressed because she realized how much damage he had done to our relationship with her family and mine. All for the meaningless pleasure of being with a douchebag who, according to her, believes that vaccines are just a pharmacy scam and that astrology is real. Yes, Baldy has a lot of tattoos. On his arm, he has the Taurus sign. She was advised to attend therapy by her sister-in-law. She is not to blame, in my opinion. I would be very disappointed if my brother was in the same situation, but I'll try to help him understand what is wrong with him. When she finally attended therapy, her therapist suggested that she write me this letter and tell me the truth. She claims that the letter's contents are accurate and that she swears if I take her back, there will never be another spouse who is as devoted, grateful, and honest as she is. She also suggests giving me full access to her social media accounts, which I already had. Promises like she will always return my calls, regardless of the circumstance, and she will never have friends with whom I disagree. There are additional details about friends and family that I do not believe it is necessary to be known of. It was a great deal, to be honest. Finally, she begs to meet me and give me a proper apology in front of me, saying, "Sorry," which doesn't even begin to describe what I'm feeling right now. How do you feel about this letter? I am able to confirm that she did not contact Baldy until that Monday, when he was fired from the gym, and that she confessed to friends and family. The rest that has happened could be half true. I'm sure it was sugar-coated. As I said, I won't ever trust her from this point onward when I see her face, because seeing her makes me think of Baldy. I will not be her second opinion or her second choice. Marianne0601 from the community suggests that if my mother had a coworker who constantly told her to cheat on my dad. We're talking of 10 years telling her that what if my trash father drank my mother and hit a limit where bunches of men generally made passes at her? What did she would do when she got tired of it all? She told my father when she got home that they were going to counseling and that it takes 2 people to make a marriage. She has already scheduled the time. Counseling brought up the coworker because she had told my dad to his face he should get married to my mom. But because she sleeps with everyone to feel better because her coworkers are so dissatisfied with her character. Why would she listen to someone who is flawed and incapable of self-improvement? When my dad died, they had been married for more than 49 years. Mom was asked out after he died, but she still wouldn't date. Her reasons are just excuses, and they're not good ones. Know that there is another person out there who can help you move on. You are not required to know what to do. She cheated on you for nearly a year before she was caught, and it took her some time to realize how awful it was. Go on with your separation. It's awful. Don't close your doors for someone. You will meet the right one who is completely committed to you. I'm sorry this happened, but in the end, you'll be fine. Good job, seeking therapy and attempting to find tranquility amid all of this. You are more powerful than you realize, so keep going. Doesn't ever be a doormat, my friend. She made her decision a long time ago, and to be honest, I don't think Flirty is to blame because Jane was clearly thinking about these things herself. Someone who was content in life and self-assured would never make the deliberate choice to cheat. Her words have no value. She is simply upset. She demolished her own existence with her own decisions. She might have had a new, pretty thing. I appreciate everyone who contacted me. I have not spoken because I needed time to think things over. I finally understood it and I sincerely appreciate it. Those who want to know have had some very difficult days. Jane did meet me. I did not respond to her letter, no. It was by a moronic slip-up I made. Let me explain. Due to the stress I had bottled up, I experienced an anxiety attack a few days after my last post. According to my therapist, my mind hadn't had time to adjust to the major degree shift in my life. I had never experienced such episodes before. I believed I was experiencing a stroke. My judgment was clouded by sweating, panic, and a tachycardia. My coworkers dialed 911, and an ambulance arrived to pick me up. I would have enjoyed the ride if I hadn't been so terrified. The paramedic repeated to me, "Mister, you are having a panic attack," and I was so certain that I would scream at any moment. Everything will go as planned. I tried, but I couldn't focus on what he was saying. The only thing on my mind was that I would die in the hospital. I began to feel better and fall asleep after being sedated. I could respond to inquiries. I was asked my name and age by the doctor. I was able to correctly identify the day until I fell asleep. Jane, who was sitting next to me, was there when I woke up. I didn't record her name and telephone number as my emergency contact. The drugs caused me to be extremely confused. I addressed her as Jane, with a smile. She was sitting there reading a book when she heard me and got up and came up to me. She greeted me, "My love," with tears in her eyes. "We were truly scared because of you." Everything came back to me at that point. I asked, "What are you doing here?" and stopped smiling. I tried to observe. My body was numb and awkward. She shushed me and advised me to take it easy and not to move suddenly. "I will call the doctor." She left after giving me a head kiss. Despite my desire to avoid the kiss, my reflexes were numb. The fact that it has been more than a year since she kissed me with genuine love, the kiss felt so familiar. When she was calling the doctor, I saw that I was in a large room with 6 other beds, 4 of which were filled with patients. Curtains separated them all for privacy. I also noticed that I was covered in a hospital robe rather than my clothes. She returned shortly thereafter with a doctor. I had spent 26 hours sleeping. The doctor went over every detail of the anxiety attack I had. He said that as to whether I'd quit taking any prescriptions, yet Jane and I nearly talked simultaneously. He doesn't take any drugs, so I don't know. This episode could be caused by either a sudden change in life or heavy stress, according to the doctor. Jane caught my eye, but she did not respond. He decided to take some time off to think and get some therapy. I informed him that I have begun therapy. However, the doctor advised that I see a psychiatrist. Because my therapist is a psychologist who specializes in gynecology, she was unable to prescribe me a medication. The doctor left telling me that I must be hungry and that I would be released tomorrow. Since it was 8 o'clock, Jane still had an hour until the end of the visiting hours, and she didn't look like she wanted to leave. I started talking like a fool because it felt awkward. "So I asked you, and you said I scared you guys." "Who's us?" She smiled, so I bet she probably knew. I couldn't stop talking. "Your parents and I arrived early in the morning." I asked. "Did they left already?" Me. "Yes, they're expecting my call. Tomorrow, I'll talk to them." Jane. I said, "You can leave, I'll sleep." "But your dinner is on its way. The doctor said that you must be hungry." For 26 hours, I ate nothing so my tummy ached. A nurse arrived shortly carrying a tray on a cart. She asked Jane to control the bed so I'd be in a sitting situation to eat. Jane was amused and staring at me as the nurse set the tray in front of me on my bed, and I don't know what kind of face I made. She said, "God, I love you so much," and added, "I'm an ex-glutton guy." I asked her one more time to go home after glaring at her once more. But the nurse, according to her, got really mad at me, so she gave Jane sponge bath and even shaved me. I was unaware of it until she informed me. Because I was still on the medication, she finally asked Jane to feed me. I told her the nurse that we were getting a divorce, but she said it wasn't her problem and that I should thank her for that. She is here to assist, and I am extremely inconsiderate. Then she left. Despite my clumsy movements, I tried to eat without her assistance. Jane begged me to let her help me because I was messing up the soup. I felt like a spoiled child throwing a tantrum. I just said fine and let her feed me. Never before had I felt so vulnerable. She acted very affectionately and maternally. I could examine her closely. She didn't have any makeup on. She has crow's feet, and I saw more expression lines. She removed the tray from the room after I finished eating, and I felt better. She was in good spirits. A man in his 50s was examining a patient in front of me as she left and returned. I wasn't shocked. She was dressed in jeans and a coat. However, she is very pretty. When she sat down, I didn't like the feeling of being in debt with her. I expressed gratitude for being here. When she tried to comb my hair in my forehead with her hand, she looked me in the eyes and smiled, but I could have rejected her this time, so I didn't say anything. She asked if she could talk, but I let go of her attempt to grab my hand. I should at least be friendly to her for 2 reasons. The twins were not baptized until they were toddlers, but Jane and I supported the sister-in-law and the twins after the ex-spouse left. When we were babysitting for them, I adore those 2 rascals. I informed Jane that this would count as training in parenting for when we had children of our own. That won't ever occur. I wept when my sister-in-law asked us to be their godparents. Which is the closest thing to them? I now have a son and a daughter. I know Jane also loves them, and I miss my godson and goddaughter so much that I don't want any drama near them. I haven't seen them since about 7 days prior D-Day. Additionally, I avoided Jane and have not spoken with them. As a result, I told her, okay, let's talk in the condo. I'll get in touch soon. When I got discharged the following day, she offered to take me home. I said no, I would ask my parents to come get me, and I would see her again in the condo. I wanted to talk about it with my parents. But she noticed that I was looking for my clothes. She gave me my phone after opening a cabinet next to my bed and gave me her guilty face once more when I looked at her suspiciously, indicating that she must have spied on my phone and admitted it. We didn't say anything. That is the language we used after 11 years of marriage. It doesn't matter if she spied. I'm not hiding anything. When I texted my parents, they called almost immediately, and the same old nurse informed Jane that her visiting hours had ended. I ignored her even though she wanted to say goodbye. She whispered, "I know you keep your word," in my ear. "I'll wait for a response from you. I cherish you." She left after giving me a hair kiss. I do follow my word. I was taught by my father that a man is only as good as his word. After I fell asleep, I asked my parents if they knew what had happened. They claim that a coworker of mine showed up at the hospital to provide information regarding my medical security. The staff saw the emergency contact at that point, and they called Jane's sister-in-law after the hospital called. When Jane arrived, she met Andy, my coworker, and then Jane waited for my doctor. My father kind to her when my parents arrived and asked about everything she knew that has happened. A nurse came in and called out one of them while waiting, leading them to my doctor. They've previously tested my blood and let them know I'm genuinely solid. A psychological factor is the source of my anxiety attack. Jane was asked to see me by my doctor because she is the person to call in an emergency. When she returned, she promised to call my parents after seeing me. She was surprised to discover that my parents were still waiting. She drove them to their house and informed them that she assisted the nurses in undressing me and putting on my hospital robe. Not any word they discuss our separation. I also called my sister-in-law to thank her for calling my parents. Likewise, my parents thanked her for the ride and agreed to visit in the morning. She would switch around noon. My godchildren were still awake, so I could talk to them. They were making me cards to wish me a speedy recovery. I promised to visit the following weekend. I was released from the hospital on Thursday. 1 week prior to my panic attack, my parents took me to my new residence. I began settling into my new residence. My personal belongings were taken. Then everything else will be left in my previous house. The place I plan on renting has nearby universities. I know for a fact there are students who would do anything else to get my place. I bought stove, refrigerator, and basic furniture. From now on, I should learn how to cook, a table with chairs, and cleaning tools for my desk. For the first time, I was thrilled to be able to call this little apartment my own. I gave Mr. P a nice, warm jacket that I bought for him. I thanked him for his assistance and promised something in return. I did not attend to the dinner of my neighbor. I'm not ready to date yet. I believe I need additional therapy and healing at my new safe space. I thought about my goals. Meeting Jane. I came to the conclusion that I needed closure. Talk about her actions telling her there would be no more getting back to each other. I will get a divorce and move on. However, I do not wish to lose my parents, my beloved twins, my stubborn and strong sister-in-law, and my sweet and rambling mother-in-law. I don't want to miss their upcoming birthdays or accomplishments. I want to be friendly to Jane at work at least. My boss allowed me 5 days off, starting from next week. I refused to remain inside. So I treated myself by getting into the beach. Being away from everything and getting some rest really helped me. I came to the realization that I do love my wife, but not the chubby one. The one who got excited when Pizza Fridays arrived. The one I married 11 years ago. The one who supported my hopes and dreams, and the one who embraced me when life got tough. I have no idea what happened with her. But, I do love my wife so much, and the person who cheated on me isn't her but life is. Yogurt Closet 98 from the community. Your wife was the one who traded you. She changed after the betrayal, not because of the sex. It was everything that preceded it the first time, and I appreciate the way you handle everything. OP, and I hope you learned that Baldy was fired and that dating does not have to result in marriage. You can date and end up being platonic, but dating is just a way to see if someone can connect with you after being out of the game for some time. OP Skylar Wolf 1234 wishes you luck and sincerely hopes that things are improving now. When your wife started licking her lips and drooling over her bald head, she died that time. You're not falling for her tricks, but she still believes you can be together. I've been waiting so long for this update and wish you a happy life. I hope you keep us updated. I sincerely apologize, Opie. This truly breaks my heart. It's really sad how someone we cherished so much can change. There are other things to consider and be super grateful about you. You can just forget the bad things that has happened, just like you marriage, because everything happened for a reason. Don't just blame yourself about it, there is nothing else to blame. Of course, don't compare yourself to other. Never let her behavior change your value as a man. She didn't deserve you. You're too much for her, so try to focus on why did this happen to you in a good way. This space you're in now will allow you to mind yourself only. You kept your word and stayed loyal, which so rare to find these days. You were the one who took the high road, chose to be a good husband. That's so beautiful. You live a life where you believe that hurting others is bad. Never think even in a minute that you are less of a pure heart. Do not allow negative thoughts to fool you. And thank you for joining us today on our space. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. We'd hate for you to miss out. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's content to the comments below. See you next time.